It is a figure that defies the gravity of standard military procurement. $100 billion. That is the staggering life cycle cost estimate for what has become the most coveted and undoubtedly the strangest defense contract in the history of the Canadian Confederation. It is a prize so lucrative that it has turned the quiet corridors of Ottawa into a gladiatorial arena for two of the world's industrial titans. South Korea desires this contract with an intensity that borders on desperation. The thirst for this deal is so acute that in late January 2026, Seoul dispatched a delegation of unprecedented weight, the Presidential Chief of Staff, the Minister of Industry, and the titans of the chaebols, including the executive leadership of Hyundai and Hanwha, on a mission officially designated as sales diplomacy of the highest order. But upon arrival, they walked into a trap. Canada examined this massive defense agreement, looked at the desperate suitors, and essentially stated, "We desire more. Not just submarines, not just torpedoes and sensor suites. Ottawa is demanding that South Korea fundamentally reshape its economic relationship with Canada. The ultimatum is stark. If you want to build our fleet, you must build our factories, construct automobile plants, revitalize our steel industry, generate hundreds of thousands of jobs. Welcome to the Canadian Patrol Submarine Project, the most audacious bidding competition in modern military history. Here, submarines have become negotiating instruments for assembly lines, defense procurement has morphed into aggressive industrial policy, and Canada is playing two global manufacturing superpowers against each other with a cold-blooded transparency that has shocked the diplomatic world. To understand the leverage Canada is trying to exert, one must first understand the depth of the crisis that necessitated this bid. The Royal Canadian Navy is currently operating on life support. Its underwater fleet consists of 4 Victoria-class submarines, vessels purchased second-hand from the British Royal Navy in 1998. They were aging hulls then. Today, they are geriatric. The reality of Canada's maritime defense is humiliating. Prime Minister Mark Carney has repeatedly highlighted a statistic that keeps naval planners awake at night. Canada possesses the longest coastline in the international community, spanning 3 oceans, the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the rapidly thawing Arctic. Yet, the nation cannot adequately patrol any of them. Vice Admiral Angus Topshee, the candid commander of the RCN, has stated directly on the record that Canada is currently incapable of satisfying its military obligations. Of the 4 Victoria-class boats, typically only one is genuinely operational at any given moment. The other 3 languish in various states of deep maintenance or repair, victims of hull fatigue and obsolete supply chains. These vessels must be retired by the mid-2000s and 30s. Ottawa has established a hard deadline. The first replacement submarine must be in the water by 2035. Miss that window, and Canada encounters a capability gap. A terrifying period of years where the G7 nation would possess no operational submarine force whatsoever. For a nation obsessed with sovereignty in an increasingly militarized Arctic, this represents an existential strategic vulnerability. In July 2024, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared the launch of the project at the NATO summit in Washington. The requirement was massive, up to 12 conventionally powered, under-ice-capable submarines. By August 2025, the field had been ruthlessly narrowed to 2 finalists, Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems and South Korea's Hanwha Ocean. The choice is not merely between 2 companies, but between 2 fundamental philosophies of naval warfare. Germany offers the Type 212CD, common design. This is a submarine built for the hunter-killer role. At roughly 2,500 tons, it is compact, agile, and extraordinarily quiet. Its diamond-shaped hull is designed to deflect active sonar, rendering it nearly invisible to hostile detection systems. Its crown jewel is its propulsion, a hydrogen fuel cell, air-independent propulsion, AIP system, that allows it to stay submerged for weeks without snorkeling. It is optimized for the shallow, claustrophobic waters of the Baltic and the icy shelves of the Arctic. It is a surgeon's scalpel. South Korea offers a sledgehammer. The KSS-III Batch 2 is a leviathan by comparison. Displacing 3,600 tons surfaced and nearly 4,000 tons submerged, it dwarfs the German offering. It is designed for the vast distances of the Pacific. While it lacks the hydrogen fuel cell pedigree, it utilizes advanced lithium-ion batteries for extended endurance. But its defining feature is a 10-cell vertical launch system, VLS, capable of firing cruise missiles. This gives the submarine a strategic strike capability, the ability to hit land targets hundreds of kilometers inland, that few diesel-electric submarines possess. What renders this competition truly unusual is not the hardware. It is the side deal. In early January 2026, reports emerged that Ottawa had issued an extraordinary, non-negotiable condition to both bidding nations. The message was conveyed by Industry Minister Melanie Joly. Canada desires automobile manufacturing commitments as a component of the submarine agreement. Specifically, Ottawa requested South Korea to arrange a binding commitment for Hyundai Motor Group to establish new production facilities in Canada. Germany received similar demands concerning expanded Volkswagen operations. South Korea's presidential chief of staff, Chung Jin-suk, confirmed these demands publicly in a stunned interview on a Korean platform. He characterized Canada as essentially informing Seoul, "We are purchasing weapons, and this is the ransom." Why is Ottawa conflating submarines with sedans? To understand this, one requires comprehending what President Donald Trump's protectionist tariffs have done to the Canadian economy. The 25% tariffs on Canadian merchandise have devastated the integrated North American automotive industry. Plants have terminated operations. Jobs have vanished. Entire communities in southern Ontario constructed around automotive manufacturing encounter existential uncertainty. Automotive industry employment in Canada has deteriorated by roughly 30% in recent years. Of the 9 assembly plants operated by the Big Three American automakers in 2000, 4 have closed entirely, 3 site idle, and only 2 are currently assembling vehicles. Prime Minister Carney views the $100 billion defense contract not just as a security requirement, but as the last available lever to force a reindustrialization of the country. If the Americans are leaving, he will force the Koreans or the Germans to take their place. South Korea responded to these demands with what can only be characterized as a shock and awe corporate offensive. On January 26, 2026, the high-level delegation arrived in Toronto. Led by Presidential Chief of Staff Chung and Industry Minister An Duk-gun, it included the royalty of Korean industry. Most notably, Hyundai Motor Group Executive Chair Uisun Chung personally joined the delegation, a signal that Seoul accepts the automobile manufacturing demand as a serious condition of the bid. The Korean delegation embarked on a persuasion offensive. In Toronto, they hosted a Canada-Korea Automotive Forum, where Canadian executives made direct pitches to Hyundai about relocating manufacturing north. Flavio Volpe, the pugnacious president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, informed the Koreans that the business case exists to construct electric vehicles in Canada, tariffs or no tariffs. But Hanwha Ocean went further. They declared a series of partnership agreements with Canadian corporations, the most significant involving Algoma Steel in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Hanwha committed $345 million in immediate investments, encompassing $275 million for a fresh structural steel beam mill. Crucially, the corporation pledged to purchase Algoma Steel for the actual construction of the submarines. This was strategically brilliant. Algoma Steel has been battered by American tariffs. Layoffs loomed. By targeting this specific corporation, Hanwha demonstrated it comprehended Canadian political priorities perfectly. They weren't just offering to build subs, they were offering to save a key electorate in northern Ontario. Germany, however, is not surrendering this contract without a fight. ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems CEO Oliver Burkhard declared that Germany is assembling its own multi-billion-dollar investment package. The discussions extend far beyond the shipyard. Germany is offering cooperation on rare earth mining, artificial intelligence, and battery production for the automotive sector. But Germany's presentation involves something even more ambitious than industrial investment. Officials have discussed the possibility of a 40 to 50-year grand partnership in which the German, Norwegian, and Canadian navies would co-design, construct, maintain, and even jointly crew submarines. This effectively offers Canada a solution to its personnel crisis. If you can't find enough Canadian sailors, the Germans and Norwegians will help you sail the boats. This offer carries particular significance given the broader geopolitical dynamics. Germany is intensifying defense cooperation with allies amid rising tensions with Russia and deep uncertainty about American security guarantees under Trump. Berlin observes the Canadian submarine contract as a component of a larger effort to strengthen a European pillar within NATO, a defense ecosystem that is less dependent on the whims of Washington. The coordination of this competition intersects with dramatic transitions in Canadian foreign policy. On January 16, 2026, Prime Minister Carney stunned the Western alliance by declaring a preliminary commerce agreement with China. During a visit to Beijing, Canada agreed to permit up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles annually at decreased tariff rates. In exchange, China decreased tariffs on Canadian canola and additional agricultural products. This represented a major, open departure from Canadian alignment with American commerce policy. Trump responded with fury, warning of 100% tariffs on all Canadian merchandise if Ottawa proceeded. Carney's willingness to defy Trump on commerce demonstrates a broader strategic reorientation. Canada is actively diversifying its economic and security relationships, realizing that the American umbrella is leaking. The submarine contract fits this pattern perfectly. Neither finalist is American. Ottawa is explicitly seeking defense partnerships outside its traditional dependence on the Pentagon. Selecting Germany deepens connections to European defense structures and NATO's traditional core. Selecting South Korea aligns Canada with the dynamic Indo-Pacific defense sector and signals openness to partnerships beyond the Atlantic Alliance. For Canada, the competition raises profound questions about national strategy. The Korean submarine offers speed and firepower. Hanwha claims it could launch the initial vessel by 2032 and deliver 4 by 2035. In a world where the Arctic is melting and Russia is rearming, speed matters enormously. The KSS-III would give Canada a strategic deterrent capability it has never possessed. The German submarine offers stealth and integration. It provides a proven Arctic pedigree and deepens ties with NATO allies who share Canada's specific geographic challenges. But ultimately, this decision may not be made by admirals looking at sonar charts. It may be made by economists looking at job numbers. We are purchasing weapons, and this is what we require. That sentence, uttered by Canadian officials to their Korean counterparts, signals a new era in Ottawa. It is an era where defense spending is no longer just about protecting the borders. It is about saving the economy. South Korea has put its cards on the table: steel mills, car factories, and missile-toting submarines. Germany is countering with a transatlantic alliance and high-tech integration. The winner will take home $100 billion. But the real winner, if Mark Carney's gamble pays off, will be a Canadian manufacturing sector that was supposed to be dead, resurrected by the strange alchemy of a global arms race. The deadline is approaching, the fleets are aging, and the entire industrial world is watching to see if Canada can truly pull off the biggest upsell in military history. Industrial impact. A Hyundai plant in Canada would effectively replace capacity lost to U.S. protectionism. Military doctrine. Choosing the Korean sub implies a shift toward power projection, cruise missiles, while the German sub implies a sea denial doctrine, stealth or torpedoes. Political risk. Linking defense procurement to commercial auto manufacturing is risky. If Hyundai backs out later, the submarine deal could be compromised. Geopolitics. Both choices signal a move away from U.S. military-industrial complex dependency.